everyone, welcome back. This is part 3, I think, in my makeup collection mini-series, makeup brush collection mini-series. And I'm just going to rock the e.l.f. brushes this time. So I'm just going to start things off with e.l.f. And we might have time for a bit more. We'll just have to see. And I'm already dropping brushes. It's a great start. So the first one I'm going to show you is the only e.l.f. Essentials range brush I've got, which is the white one. Wait, why I just scratch my nose? Could be worse, could be picking it. I've got mainly the Studio Line brushes, but for the that's not an e.l.f. brush. For the white one, I've got one brush, which is the e.l.f. smudge brush. This is great. It's really soft. It washes really well. It's lasted really well. Great for smudging on the lower lash line. Probably my favourite for smudging on the lower lash line. And then I'll get straight on to the studio brushes. So this is an e.l.f. mini blending brush. I don't know why on God's green earth it's called a blending brush. You couldn't blend out a monkey's uncle with that. I mean, look at it. It's so stiff. It's a massive flat shader. It's great for packing on colour. I also use it for brow bone highlight. I think you could, if you'd liked a flat brush, you could use it for concealer as well, and maybe even like big spot concealing. I personally very rarely use this brush. It's just a bit too stiff for me, and for buffing out, and I prefer something bigger and fluffier for concealer, and for my eyelid I prefer something a bit smaller. So this, to be honest, gets next to no love, but I think it might be useful to others. The other one that actually I don't really use is the angled blush brush. I've recently decided I'm going to try this with cream blush. The problem is, with me having an e.l.f. stipple brush, nothing else ever gets used for cream blushes. I've tried it in the past as well for putting powder under the eyes, and it's almost right for that, but it's not quite right. To me, there's no way I could use that for a blush because it's just too dense. I like my blush not to look like a clown, so I find it hard to do with this brush and blush. It just doesn't seem to work for me, but I've used it for highlighter. It's great for that. The other thing I think it might be good for, because it is so dense, is foundation as well. I haven't actually tried it for that yet, but I'm going to. It's quite small, but not too small. So yeah, it's a fairly good brush. I'm also going to try it. I've got some new Makeup Revolution blushes that are very natural coloured, and it might work for those, but a lot of my blushes are very pigmented, and so it's not really for me as a blush brush. This, to me, the e.l.f. powder brush is one of the best brushes of all time. I used to use this all the time for foundation. I don't use it for powder, and I wouldn't use it for powder. It's a flat top kabuki brush. These are so expensive in other brands, and this was £3 or £4. The problem is, because when I use it for foundation, I wash my foundation brush all the time. The handles come loose, so I don't have that problem with my Real Techniques buffing brush, and for that reason I prefer my Real Techniques. But for the price, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily mind repurchasing this, and you can always just glue it back if you prefer. So yeah, fantastic brush. And I've got my e.l.f. complexion brush, another great brush. When I first got it, I thought, oh gosh, you know, when you get really cheap makeup brushes and the bristles are really sparse and you're disappointed, I thought this was going to be it to look at, but if you touch it on your face, it's not. It really just has the perfect amount of bristles, not too many. Obviously it's not got the world's most bristles like this one would have. It's very dense. There's no way you could put foundation on with this, put it that way, but it's lovely for when you want a light wash of blush, great for bronzer, great for all over powder. Just a really good brush. That's the complexion brush. The cult classic that is the small stipple brush by e.l.f. just cannot be overlooked. Emily Noel uses this all the time for cream blush. I like it for cream blush, but it actually gives me too much of a precise look for cream blush, and I've recently decided I'm going to try it more for concealer and other things, and try something more like maybe this one, like I say, for cream blush. But yeah, I have used it for a long time for cream blush and got on with it for that. I have used it as well for concealer in the past and liked it for that. I've also got the Flawless concealer brush. Now this is great for concealer. It's also really good for precision highlighter. So yeah, I just really like this brush. I have been known as well just to like take it if it's got no product on it and just really buff out a stubborn eye look that's not, you know, blending out nicely. Then you've got the e.l.f. contour brush. This is a stubby little brush which I mainly use for under eye work, and sometimes I'll stamp in a corner highlight. I don't really use it for the crease. I have been known to pack colour on the outer V with it as well. It is very useful. It's not my favourite brush of this type for that sort of work. My favourite brush, I'm just looking for it for you, for that type of work is a little one I showed you in the first of this series, which is the Wilko's smoky eye brush. These are very, very similar, and I prefer, it's a little bit fluffier, slightly more fluffy and slightly more domed. So I do prefer the Wilko's one, but it is, and they're the same price basically. In fact, e.l.f. will probably be more expensive now because they've hiked all their prices up on their UK website. But yeah, I do like the brush. I'm not sad that I've got it. Oh, I forgot to mention, when I got this studio brush, I did buy a second one that was so bad I ended up throwing it, which is the only, I think could possibly be the only makeup brush I've ever thrown away because it was that bad. And it was the contour brush equivalent, so that brush, that last brush equivalent in the white line, and the bristles were all coming out in funny directions and different lengths. It was molting, it was sparse, it was useless. I've seen other people use it, and I honestly think I just got a bad one because other people seem to get on with it really, really well. What's going on with my hair today? But I personally didn't get on with it, and so it went straight in the bin. The last e.l.f. brush is my small angled brush. I bought this because I wanted just to see if I would get on with a more precise eyebrow brush. I usually use a Real Techniques brow brush, which is very fat, and it just takes longer and is more annoying. Not only that for me, but because when I started using it every day, the bristles started to sort of bend in the direction I was sweeping the product on. So it's quite soft. It's not a particularly, mine's not any particularly stiff brush. If you like a stiff one, this has got quite a lot of give in it. It is quite good for putting on eyeliner, but again I prefer something a bit more stiff for my gel eyeliner. So for me, I generally just put shadow on the lower lash line when I want a really precise type to the lower lash line eyeshadow, like a black one or something, with that brush. The next ones I'm going to show you is the rest in my XC brush set. So in the first of this series I showed you the brushes I used to put this makeup look on. So I mentioned the little stubby kabuki brush. I'll just get it for you. The little stubby kabuki brush and the blush brush there. This is the rest of that set. So those two are my favourite in the set. These are the rest. You've got a flat top version of the kabuki brush, and again I just use that for foundation, but the bristles are a bit long for me and there's a bit too much give, so really I just tend to use that when my others are dirty and can't be cleaned. It probably would be great for powder if you were really packing it on, but for me I don't really wear powder in that way, so yeah, it's not one of my favourites. I've got a flat foundation brush, but mine got bent in the post and has never gone back. Now I actually really like it that it's bent. I think it's unique because it is bent. I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be like that, but I really like it for getting under eye concealer on because the shape then fits perfectly around my eye. I have also used this in the past for packing on highlighter as well. I like it for that. The two eyeshadow brushes that are kind of like blendy, one's just rounded and the other one is angled, but they're both basically the same sort of brush, but one's pinched and angled and one's rounded. They feel the same softness, the same length. They look like they're duo fibre, but they're not really. These are lovely. The problem is it takes a long time to blend out with them because they do have quite a lot of give in them. But if you wanted to just put a wash of colour in your crease and you didn't want it to be too pigmented, then this one's great for that. I don't often use this one, to be honest. I have been known to put a bit of highlighter down the centre of my nose with it. but it doesn't get used that often. This one I think is supposed to be your flat shader for packing on eyeshadow. I use it for cream eyeshadow, it works great for that, like my Maybelline Colour Tattoos for example, when I don't want to use my finger. This is a really useful brush. Obviously they're not named, so I don't know what it was intended for, but I've used it for buffing out concealer under my eyes. It's also good for contouring if you want a precise contour, and also I've used this brush for highlighter, so I like it for that. Again, I tend to gravitate more towards these brushes when my other ones are dirty. This is the one that's sort of your liner, your gel liner, or it's way too small for a brow brush, but your gel liner brush. Again, this one came a bit bent, so I avoid it for that reason, but I do tend to use it in basically in exactly the same way I would use the e.l.f. one. If you've got one, you wouldn't need the other, sort of thing, but it is stiffer than the e.l.f. one, much stiffer. This one is supposed to be a pencil brush. It's one of the reasons I actually bought the set, because I wanted to find affordable pencil brushes, because you can't really get them in the drugstore. I mean, Real Techniques don't even really do a pencil brush. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at this moment in time I haven't found one in any of their kits. So I only got my Zoeva one as a pencil brush, which I do like, but this one is very stabby and very stiff. Like, anytime it goes near my eye, it just hurts. So what I do tend to use it for, I very, very rarely use it, but when I do, it's for like smudging out. I'll pull my eye tool and smudge out eyeliner when I've put it on the upper lash line, but I just want it smudged out. So I do use it for that, but it really wouldn't be good for anything else because it is so stiff and a bit of a danger, to be honest, near your eyes. Next I'm just going to move on to my brushes that haven't fallen into any other category, so bless them. But there are some diamonds in here, so don't click off. And you'll know what I mean when I mention this first one then in regards to diamonds. It's the Bdellium Tool 787. This was a recommendation from Stephanie Lange, and I love her channel, and it's great for people wanting to put colour and hooded eye area. It is duo fibre. I've seen people use it for contouring as well in the past. I haven't used it for that, and I imagine it'd be quite good for nose contouring, but I absolutely love this for my crease, for putting down that first wash of colour in your crease. I love it for that. Next I've got a Makeup Revolution blending brush. Bit too stiff and scratchy for me. I very rarely use this. Not one of my favourites. I think it'd be good for nose contouring, but I don't do nose contouring, to be honest. Then I've got the only lip brush I really use, which is my Elite Retractable Lip Brush. So if a lip brush to me is not retractable, there's no point having it, because I need to be able to touch my lip product up when I'm out and about. I suppose with all these matte liquid lipsticks, then that might necessarily be true, but I don't often wear those, to be honest. I do like matte lipsticks, but not necessarily liquid lipsticks. Sorry, I know that's not on trend to say that. I've got two Maybelline New York brushes that came with my brown and black gel eyeliner. Very good for applying gel eyeliner. Really like them for that. Too stiff for anything else, but great for that. This brush, it just says eyeshadow, and it's like a bigger and more tapered sort of pencil brush. That's why I got it. It also reminds me a lot of if we can find it. It reminds me, it's of that Wilko's stubby brush. There it is. The Wilko's stubby brush that I really like, the smoky eye brush. I've mentioned this probably in every one of the videos in the series. I really love that, and I thought this would be like a pointed version of that brush, and it is. So I wonder if you can see that. There we go. You can see it against my head, my 5 head. So it's a pointed version of that brush. So really, really handy. I use it for all sorts. Lower lash line, inner corner, smudging out liner, packing on colour in the outer V. Fantastic multitask brush, and it wasn't the cheapest, to be honest, when you think it literally was bought from a supermarket. I think it was like £5 or £6. Then I have this one from Superdrug, which just says eyes on it, and I thought this was going to be a dupe of the domed shadow brush by Real Techniques, and it is actually a smaller version of it, so for that reason I love it. It's a little bit less multi-purpose than the domed one by Real Techniques. It's even a similar colour, because this one's slightly bigger, you can use it for concealer. For me, this one's only really good for the eyes, but I absolutely love it for all sorts on the eyes. Great for one shadow looks, packing on colour, lower lash line, and everywhere. Everything to do with eyes, crease, everything. It's it's not pinched, but I don't think it's not exactly round either, so it doesn't look pinched, but the ferrule is not, it's oval as opposed to circular, so I really like that. Then I've got this QVS foundation brush. I don't really like this brush. I don't use flat foundation brushes, but if I did, I wouldn't like this for that. I've tried it. It is alright for blush actually. I have used it for blush in the past, and I think it would be quite good for contouring as well. This brush is almost identical to my Body Shop blush brush. So if you want a cheaper version of if you think you want the Body Shop blush brush, but a cheaper version, it is obviously a bit slimmer. I'm just showing you the difference there. They even look similar colours, and this one is actually cheaper, but I don't use it very often. Then I got a brush that I got free in a glossy box, and it Mask. The company name's Mask. And it's basically feels, I mean, people were saying that when I was seeing other people's unboxings how they were loving it. To me it feels a little bit cheap, even though it's not at all cheap. It doesn't inspire me to buy others in the brand. I think it's supposed to be for packing on colour on the eyelid, but it's just too big for me for that. You know, this would be great for like MAC Soft Ochre or Painterly, so when you want a cream shadow or primer on your lid, but you're not got a colour, so you're not having to be precise. I couldn't put it on, for example, with this colour tattoo pomegranate one, because it's just far too big for that. It just get really messy and sloppy really quickly. Then I've got the EcoTools Airbrush Concealer. I actually bought this because I thought it'd be great in the crease, and it's just too stiff for that. But it is actually a great concealer brush. I especially like to use it around my nose rather than under the eyes, because it is a bit stiff and a bit scratchy for under the eyes. If you're going to use it under the eyes, it looks like you'd be able to do a blending, but you can't. You have to use it for packing on colour, and in which case something like the Real Techniques pointed foundation brush is actually better for that than this. But I do like it for around the nose, and actually what I have used it for in the past is for contouring my lower lip. So I put a bit of powder on the end and cast a shadow under my lower lip, so it's great for that. And the last brush is my Wilko's huge monster daddy brush, or mummy brush, let's not be sexist, and it's called the powder brush. This was £3 or £4, and look at what you're getting for your £3 or £4. Look at the bang for the buck. This is the softest brush I've ever had on my face. It's just so beautiful. It's just lovely. I even love the colours in it, because it looks sort of black like that, but if you look at it from the side, it's like it's highlighted with red streaks. It's like a wig on a stick. It's a really soft one. It's lovely. I use this for putting powder all over my face. I don't often get oily, but when I do get oily, it's usually the nose. So it's great for like sticking, getting loads of, and putting it on your nose and really setting your makeup. When I'm in a rush, like I'm getting ready for work, I use this, because I'll just put foundation all over my face and a bit of concealer, sometimes not even that, and I can go set eye, set nose, set chin, and go out the door. So I really recommend this. I just had to have it because I thought I want all of that for the price. I just want it, and it really is one of my favourite brushes. So that's my whole massive, well, might not be massive for some, but that's my I think it's massive. It's more than I ever should really have, and that's my collection. I am gonna tag an extra video on the end of this one after Christmas. I'm going to film it after Christmas, because I've asked for some makeup brushes for Christmas, and when I get them I am going to talk you through those as well. I hope you're enjoying the series so far, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!